I'm sure most people throughout not just Canada, but the entire world, or at least a lot of people, have heard about the Humboldt bus crash. For those of you who haven't heard about it, so the Humboldt bus crash occurred in Humboldt, Saskatchewan, Canada. It was in spring of 2018. I believe it was in April, if memory serves me correctly. It was a collision between a transport truck and a bus. The bus was carrying 29 people, and this was a hockey bus. It was carrying members of the Humboldt Broncos hockey team on their way to a playoff game. So there were all the players, or most of the players of the Humboldt Broncos were on this bus, as well as the coach and many other people. And out of those 29 people that were on that bus, 16 of those people died. Another 13 of those people were injured with varying degrees of injury, some of them very serious, life-altering injuries, like some of the people on that bus were left paralyzed. There is not a single person that walked off that bus uninjured. Well, the driver of the truck, Jaskarat Sidhu, I apologize if I'm butchering the name, but the driver of the truck, he has been charged with 16 counts of criminal negligence causing death and 13 counts of criminal negligence causing bodily harm. Or charges very similar to that. I'm pretty sure those are the charges. But of those 29 charges, he has pled guilty to all 29 counts. This is a very tragic accident. It's probably, I know it's not the deadliest collision that's ever occurred in Canada. I think the deadliest collision that's ever occurred in Canada occurred back in the 1990s in Quebec. And if I remember correctly, I think 43 people were killed. But this is certainly one of the most deadly, one of the most tragic collisions ever to occur in Canada. So this truck driver pleaded guilty on all counts, and his sentencing hearing is going to begin on January 28th. Well, in my opinion, by the way, the maximum sentence that this truck driver could face, they said for the criminal negligence causing death, the maximum sentence for that is 14 years in jail. And criminal negligence causing bodily harm, the maximum sentence for that's 10 years in jail. Now, I don't know if that's 14 years and 10 years respectively, times the number of people that were killed and injured in this crash, or if it's 14 plus 10, 24 years in total for the entire crash. In my opinion, I think this truck driver does deserve to serve the rest of his life in jail. I have no doubt whatsoever that this truck driver feels absolutely horrible for what he did. I have no doubt that this was unintentional. It was not deliberate on his part. There's no indication that he was impaired by alcohol or drugs or anything like that. I have no doubt that he feels absolutely awful for what he's done. But I think an example needs to be made out of him, and a very strong message needs to be sent to all Canadians that when you're driving, that all of your attention has to be focused on the task at hand. You can't be driving while you're intoxicated by substance. You can't be driving while you're distracted. You shouldn't be playing with your phone or your GPS or your laptop or your tablet or your GPS or reading a book or a newspaper or a magazine or playing with your radio or doing anything else distracting while you're driving. You need to have your eyes on the road and your hands on the steering wheel. And you need to be in control of that vehicle to the best of your ability. So many lives depend on it. Like, I know there's some people I would think that I'm being absolutely extreme by saying that he deserves to spend the rest of his life in jail. But a very strong message needs to be delivered. There's just too much bad driving out there on the road. And I'm not saying that this is the case for this particular truck driver, but many of these drivers out on the road don't even seem the least bit remorseful for their poor choices that they make while they're driving. Some people just simply don't seem to care what they're doing out on the road. And some people just don't. Some people seem to think that the law doesn't apply to them. Well, the laws apply to everyone. People, smarten up and start driving the way that you're supposed to drive. If you're not capable of doing that, or you simply don't feel like doing that, get off the road and leave the driving to someone else. Maybe it's time for some drivers out there to trade in their driver's license for a bus pass, because some people just simply do not belong on the road. I am going to be watching this case very closely, and I'm very curious, like many other people are, to see what this driver ends up being sentenced to. But I do hope that the sentence is severe and sends a strong message that careless driving and dangerous driving are not acceptable. Way too many people lose their lives because of bad driving practices. Time that we all smarten up, people.